Hello, good afternoon. I am delighted to introduce a good friend now. You came to Accountech London. We've welcomed her back into Manchester, talking about a little bit about influence and unleashing the power of your influence and brand personality. As you can see, we wear bright coats. You've probably seen us running around all day, just as an example. But anyway, I'll pass you over to give you a great rundown. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zoe. All right. Hello, everyone. I wanted to start by telling you about a company I went to and did a presentation. So we all sat around the board table, and the company turned over 11 million. And the divisions that they had were aircon, telecoms, internet, networks, and so forth, security. So they had quite a few divisions under the portfolio. So it was the owners, the sales directors of the divisions, and some salespeople. So I was talking about my subject, which is social selling, millennials, the changes in buyers and key account management, and really kind of bringing them up to date on all of the changes. Now, the younger people around the table kind of got it. And one of the guys said to me, well, I've been dealing with my customers for 15, 20 years. And I, know them really well. I've been to one of their weddings, so I have a good relationship with them. They're not on social, neither am I. So why bother with all of this? So I asked, well, it's great you've got an in-depth relationship. That's exactly what we want. We want to have a relationship so we can influence the people to do what we want to do as in your professional field. You're advising people all the time, so it's all about relationships. That's brilliant. So, the percentage of these key accounts, these key customers, what percentage would you say, I asked, were not on social? And he said maybe about 60%. Now, remember, if you're not involved in social, you're unlikely to be aware of who is, because you're just not in that space, but that's fine. So I said, well, because you've had a long relationship with them, how many of those key customers are likely to retire? In what period? And he said, well, some perhaps 2 years and others 10 years. Okay, so if you take an average of 5, and because I've just spoken to the group about millennials and the impact that they're going to have, and I said, well, what's the likelihood of a millennial taking over that lead key position in that company? And he said, well, quite likely. Do you think that millennial in average 5 years would want to deal with a supplier that spoke the same language, a supplier that used the same technology as them? And a lot of them were kind of pondering that. And then I said, can you wait 5 years to find that out? And then suddenly other people around the table got it, the impact of this. And it's really foolhardy to think that you can wait 5 years to wait and see what's going to happen to your customer base. And the relevance to all of you here, whether you're a finance director, accountant, or bookkeeper, is that you are advising your customers. And there'll be lots of these customers, just like the ones that I was speaking to, that think, actually, we're okay. We're turning over enough. We've got a good relationship. Why bother to change? But actually, the onus is on you to advise them that their customers, their key clients are evolving and changing. And I know in your industry, you've gone through so many changes with technology, but actually it's about thinking not only how you can remain relevant to your customers, but how you're going to advise your customers to be aware of their customers. And that's what key account management is all about. It's not only thinking about your customer, but your customer's customer. So you have to think quite far ahead to ensure that the advice that you're giving them is enabling your customer to remain relevant. But it also means that you have to demonstrate that. You have to ensure that you're continuing to lead the charge, to demonstrate that you're thinking ahead, to making sure that you're going where your customers are going and you're helping your customers to do the same. So that's the relevance of all of this, remaining influential and using your brand personality to actually do that. Okay, so I wanted to give you two key trends very briefly, but for the people that don't already know me, I'm a Sage business expert, which means that I advise the Sage clients to remain relevant using the subjects that I talk about: key account management, social selling, your brand personality. And millennials is one of the key trends that's constantly coming up that I'm talking to people about. I started and grew my business, I think, about 20 years ago. So I've been working in customer experience, been working as a sales director in financial services. So I've been in and around sales and customers and building relationships and understanding where the market's going for many, many years. So I grew a business, and this was employing 20 people. So that was about the largest business that I started and grew. And this started in 2006. And we all know what happened in 2008. And I can tell you, I realized the impact of social media at that point, because there are a lot of other businesses similar to mine that had been in business 10 years prior to me, and they were going to the wall. They were crashing and burning. And the difference with our business, how we're able to not only survive, but thrive in challenging times, was because of my customer experience work that I'd done prior to that. I was using Facebook in business when I didn't even really know it was a thing. I was just interested in it. And, you know, I was using email marketing. So this was way back in 2008. So continue to develop. We were winning awards. I just needed to contact my key accounts, my key customers, and let them know what we were doing. And because they were real advocates of our brand and we kept them engaged, that's the thing that kept us going, being social with my customers and really understanding what's my proposition to the customers and understanding the relationship we had and what they wanted from us and simply delivering it. That's all I did. I just delivered what the customers wanted. Other businesses were very much introspective and looking at themselves at that time. And so when we had the economic crisis, then a lot of them went to the wall. And as I say, that's the kind of light bulb moment to me, the impact of being social with your customers. So your industry, this is key trend number one. Your industry, as you know, has gone through so many changes. This year, making tax digital. Prior to that, all of the technology that's taken over with cloud accounting and so forth. And it's constantly going under change. And as you know, there's more to come down the line. So that is one trend that is impacting your industry. But also it's meaning that your customers are becoming more demanding because there's so much more that you can do. And especially with outsourcing, the ability to outsource a lot of your services, this should open up the ability for you to provide value-added services. But it's actually what the value-added services are going to be, the services that are relevant to your customers. And this is why customers and being really in touch with your customers and influencing your customers is really important. So there's kind of a little bit of a gap between your industry and all of the technological advances and what you're doing, the pressure to keep up with that. But also on the other side, key trend two, millennials. The impact millennials are having on your industry is massive. Of course, on other industries as well. So millennials are born between 2018 and 1918 and 2000, millennials. The impact that they're having on all industries, but particularly yours. And then Generation Z, that's born after 1998. Now, millennials are tech savvy. 91% of them are active on the internet. They're socially conscious and they are quite demanding as well. They almost expect to be entertained by information. Otherwise, it's not really something they're engaged with. And then Generation Z that's coming up behind them, they've never known anything different. than being in a technological environment. You know, like you get a 2-year-old that's swiping the microwave, you know, because they think that that's how these things work. They just take a mobile phone and you don't have to teach them. They're teaching you, which is ridiculous. So, you know, the way of thinking, the way of communicating is changing. We've still got email marketing, which is the preference as a digital tool for communication. But some recent research that was done says that millennials prefer text messaging. Anyone that have teenagers, they won't pick up the phone. They have a phone, but they won't pick up the phone. They will text you. There's a preference for text messaging, which means that the communication through emails is shorter and informal. Now, it's quite difficult because we're in a profession. We need to keep our professional integrity, don't we? And we don't want to be personal. But actually, the demand from our customers and the customers coming down the line is they want you to be personable. I was listening to a presentation about HR practices and HR policies and how there's a real risk in allowing employees free range to take pictures and, you know, get sued, especially in America, but it's coming in here as well. So you've got one driver where customers want you to be, they want to know you before they actually meet you. They look you up on social. And then you've got another drive to kind of protect the integrity of your industry. And it's a balance that all of you are going to have to negotiate because your customers are changing. So millennials are, by 2020 globally, they will be 35% of the global workforce. Generation Z will be 24% of the global workforce. Generation Z are the most entrepreneurial we have seen yet. You've heard of those that will go and do gaming, you know, and they win $1 million and pay off their parents' mortgage. I'd like one of those, please, you know, wouldn't we all? But, you know, the way that the gig economy, the way that we earn money, I've just flown back from America. My sister's a realtor, and they're having to rethink the way that they account for income, because there are quite a few people that don't really have an income. They're gamblers, you know, and they're earning a lot of money. So if they're going out and they're getting a mortgage, how do you justify the income? You know, because of the gig economy and the way that we earn money, everything's going to change. So we're going to have to adapt to that, even in the kind of profession of accounting. So a lot is changing, and a lot of it's driven by millennials, because they're going to be such a major part of our workforce, not only the people we employ, but also the customers that we're working with and advising, but also their customers that our customers are working with. It's something you cannot avoid. The way you communicate is going to have to change, but we need to influence. But we have to influence in their language, not our language. And we have to take on the technology that our customers are working with now, but also we have to continue to adapt and update the technology. And some of you are thinking, look, I just want to do my job. You know, I really don't want to be involved in all of this at all. It's just too much. But what I'm saying is being aware that things are changing, and rather than resisting it or being forced, which a lot of the technologies from HRC has come down the line, you've got no choice. But actually, the more aware you are of it, the more interested you will investigate it. Rather than thinking they're not doing it in my way, really understanding that customers are leading the charge, okay? So, changing client behaviors. Remember, you've got the dynamics of what's happening in your industry, key chain 1, and key social change is millennials. So how is this affecting you? So I've spoken a little bit about my experience being in a business and how that social media enabled me to survive and grow. But, you know, we've all seen that there's been a technological change and, you know, a real kind of like push for social networks and digital marketing. So what has happened is that social selling is one of the tools that we can use to influence. It's one of the tools that we can use to listen in on our customers in order to demonstrate our expertise. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, and I'm going to give you 6 strategies. We've talked about the context of 2 trends, but I'm going to give you 6 strategies. So just to kind of like labor the point, social media, digital marketing, is now influencing 92% of B2B buyers. 92% is huge. It's absolutely huge. You're in the B2B market. So remember, a lot of your customers are on social. If you're not on social, you don't know what they're doing there. But you're going to find more of your customers. You're going to be able to engage more of your customers on social. You can influence more of your customers, 92%. And then 31% of B2B buyers said that they were able to develop deeper relationships. You're in a business, your companies, your firms, what you do is all about relationships. 20 years ago, a lot of it was face-to-face. Now, remember those millennials and some of your teenagers, they won't even pick up the phone. Well, how can you contact them? And it's on social. You can develop deeper relationships. Remember the company, the example I gave you at the beginning, when the sales director said, none of my customers are on social. Well, how would he know? 20 years ago, when he developed the relationships, it was face-to-face. Well, if you can't get face-to-face with a lot of your customers, it may be once a year, but there's lots more engagement you need to do in order to offer those value-added services, then you have to do it through the medium that they choose, that their preference is. And this is really on social. And then 45% of social sellers said that they were able to develop more opportunities. Now, this isn't all about existing customers. This is all about, potential new customers. This is about your existing customers. In order to develop the relationship with your existing customers, they're on social. So, you need to continue to nurture those relationships if you want to create those bigger opportunities, because there is a social revolution, not just a technological revolution. It's enabled by social activity. So I'd like to just ask you where you think you are. So are you a social Luddite? I'm not playing this game. It will never take off. It's all about posting pictures about what you ate for lunch. I'm not interested in that. I'm not playing the game, right? That's fine. But you might be a social dabbler. You kind of haven't really got much time. You do a bit of this, a bit of that, now and again, okay? So I can see a few people smiling here, like, yeah, I'm a social dabbler. I jump in and I jump out. I know I need to, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I haven't really got much of a strategy, but everyone else is doing it, so I'm going to do it as well. It might be that you would classify yourself as a social engager, someone that does either a blog, monthly or weekly blog, or you're posting comments on Facebook or LinkedIn, you're joining conversations in the groups. So you're doing something perhaps once a day on social. So you would classify yourself as active social engager. And then you've got the social influencers. These are the people that are recognized as experts in their field. Now, I was listed as 25 of the Sage Top 100 Social Global Business Influencer. And at the time, remember, I got involved in Facebook 2006, I wasn't planning to be a social influencer, but I was active. And because I understood my customers and I understood the business that I was in, I was simply posting a lot of those keywords, and they were able to pick me up that I was active with this group of keywords, and it meant that I was a social influencer. Now, I know how that's done. I know a good friend of mine, Tim Hughes, in 1 year, he became #1 social influencer for social selling. So I was just doing it by accident, really. But if you wanted, if that's important to your business, your revenues go up, you get more kind of speaking engagements, all of these things. If it's important to you to be a social influencer in your field for what you are expert in, then in a year you can do it. It's quite possible because there's so many apps that are available to you. Okay, so I just want you to think where you are, because there's always somewhere to go. And it's not as difficult as you think it is, because there are so many more apps and platforms available. So we've talked about the context to all of this, why, social selling, the changes in buyer behavior, and how millennials are impacting your business. Generation Zs are going to be the most entrepreneurial. There's a real drive in your industry. By 2026, it'll be worth 12 billion. The accounting industry is not shrinking, it is growing because of the changes in the way people want to work, and they need your services. Now, there's an abundance of information. We have information at our fingertips. Clients feel that they don't need your advice because it's available on the internet. But you all know, as soon as they go on the internet, what does it create? Confusion, because there's so much information. You have a major opportunity. Insight. That's what's the added value is insight, your expertise, your expert knowledge. And I'm going to show you how you can package that to be more influential. So my framework, social Scale Your Sales, is made up of 3 elements, but I'm going to focus on one. So the first one is resilience and productivity. I'm going to focus on attraction, because influence is about attracting the customers you want. And when you attract them, they know they're in the right place. And this is about your influence. And what helps to do this is really building your social capital. So we're going to talk about attraction. And attraction's made up of 3 elements: engage, educate, and elevate. Now, if you want to grow your social impact, your influence, then you have to kind of go through this process. Now, the framework is made of many strategies, and I've chosen 6 strategies for you today that you can take forward in order to grow your influence and your social capital. So I'm going to go through these 6 in turn. At the end, I've got another slide if you want to take a picture where there's a little bit more detail, but you can take a picture of me now. So what do these 4 people have in common? Sorry?
They all post content.
They do. They post content frequently. They are all experts, social influencers in their field. Now, I call this personal business personality. In my book, Business Evolution, Creative Growth in a Rapidly Changing World, it will show you with all of the worksheets how to do that for yourself. And it's all about your core values. I think of this as personal branding on natural steroids, because personal branding is very much about, being branded like a cow, and personal business personality is about you, because people will buy you, they engage with you, they want to know about you first, and then they'll buy your service. But they don't trust you unless they feel they know you. How do they feel they know you? Because they've looked you up. Then I get people coming up to me, "Oh, Janice," and I'm thinking, where did I meet them before? I've never met them before. But the way they come up to me, it's like, I must know these people. I don't. They've been following me, or some stalking me on social. And that's okay, because I want them to self-select that they're in my team, that they're part of my crowd. Because I'm putting things out on a regular basis, they already feel they know me. So I've already leapfrogged all of the rapport building. They wouldn't come up to me delightfully if they didn't think they knew me and they liked me. Do you think they trust me? Otherwise, they wouldn't come up to me. So in terms of building your influence, and that's an easy person to influence that's already self-selected, that they like you because they come up to you. And that's the power of distributing your content, but it's not any content. So what's the commonality between these is that they are social influencers, but I want you to think of personal leads to professional. Personal leads to professional. Their personal value, personal capital feeds their business. People know them, like them, and they want to do business with them. Elon Musk has more Twitter followers, double the Twitter followers than 3 of his companies. Tesla, SpaceX, and SolarCity. Those companies turn over billions, right? But he has personally more Twitter followers. So what does that tell you? So personal leads to professional. Isn't he gorgeous? Richard Branson, I adore him. You know, you can see he's all about personality. And there's another tactic that he does. He always promotes other people. He puts other people first. And this is about reciprocity. You know, the law of reciprocity. If you promote other people, and you've got so many clients, you think, what content can I use? You take the name out, but every time you have a conversation, you need to be recording the conversation and taking, because we don't know what we say until we hear it back. Take that information every time you have a conversation. It's a blog, it's a tweet, it's an article, it's adding value, because you've just added value to the one-to-one relationship. There's going to be a whole host of other people that want that value. So when you think, oh, what am I going to talk about? Just think about what you just said on the phone to your client. It's of value to that client, so it's going to be of value to your other clients. Adriana Huffington, more personal followers than Huffington Post. Gary Vaynerchuk, VaynerMedia. Now, he really created the business way of using YouTube. I mean, years and years ago. And what I think is really clever about him is that he's all about millennials and Generation Z. Now, he's built a personal relationship with them. They're going to follow him for the next 20, 30 years. He hasn't got to worry about creating a client base. They're following him. So the earlier you can pick up on millennials and generations, speak their language, use their tools, that is your business for life. You're creating value, long-term value in your business for life. Okay, so with this, I want you to think of personal leads to professional. People buy you, they like you, and they trust you. They'll work with you without a problem. I talk about social selling. It's not selling, it's influencing, it's building relationships, sharing value. Everything you know, give it away, put it out there, because you're simply demonstrating you're the expert. You're simply getting people to recognize they're in the right place. If it's existing customers, this is the guy I want to recommend. There's a whole, when we talk about Elevate, your customers are your best sales team, but they're never going to be your sales team unless they know you, and they feel they know you, they like you, and they trust you. They're going to want to recommend you to their best mate because they trust you. So it's all about influence and influencing with who you are. What's your expertise, your personal business personality? So the second tip is get found. You know, I don't know about you. If I'm building up my business, I'd much prefer to get found than actually go out and find my customers. Because when I'm found, my clients know they're in the right place. They know they're with the right person. They've already been stalking me or following me for a little while with the information I'm putting out. They begin to trust me, and then it's really easy to, you know, to do business with them, to advise them, because I've already seen the kind of advice and things I'm putting out there. I want to be found. You want to be found. And how many of you have seen lots of situations where existing customers forget about you because, you know, you're not putting stuff out, you're not putting things in front of them, and then they go and get advice from someone else. Whereas actually you've got relationships with people that you trust that you could have advised your customers, and it builds your reputation with them. But because you're not actually in front of the customer enough with the blogs, the emails, whatever it may be, to remind them of your expertise. So this is not just a strategy for new customers, it's a strategy for existing customers to keep reiterating your expertise, what you can do, all of your added value. So you want to get found. So how do you get found? My tagline is the key account sales strategies, because I don't talk about any of your customers. I'm talking about your key customers, because they're the ones that like you, love you, trust you, going to recommend you. They do more business with you. So I help you identify who are your key clients. The people will automatically love you. Sales, although I don't talk about, the process of selling, but the whole point of growing your business is to grow your revenue. And then your strategy is going to be different to your strategy, is going to be different to your strategy. So people remember that. And because when they hit that, they think, well, I'm looking for someone like that. And they're going to find me because I'm using my key terms, my phrase on almost everything that I do. So I pop up. I'm easy to find for the terms I want to be found for. This is what you all need to do. If you want to get found, what do you want to be found for other than your name? What is that? What is your expertise? What's the thing that you can do that no one else can do in the way that you do it? And it's really about kind of thinking about what that may be. You want to get found, and you want to be refound by your existing customers again and again and again. Iteration, consistency is really important. They will become your sales force. So then, the third strategy, because remember he talked about the engage, elevate, engage, educate, and elevate. So in one of the engage strategies I'd like to talk to you about is really, what is engagement all about? Engagement is about having a conversation. It's not a like, it's not even a share, it's a conversation. So your purpose on whatever you're posting is to get people to respond. So it's like a tennis match. So you post a question, you share a story, an experience, and it's not all about business. Actually, the thing that engages people more, it is about you as a person, as an individual, your personal business personality, what you're interested in, who you socialize with. And I put personal stuff, not too personal, about my family and different things. And people always remember that, but they trust me because the advice and the experience that I deliver. So, don't worry too much about, you only put out what you're comfortable putting out, but actually it's the personal stuff that really engages, because remember, they're buying you first, and then they will do business with you, then they will recommend you. But if they feel they don't know you, if you don't ever put anything about you as a person, as a real person out there, it's really difficult to trust you. Okay, and you know that as well. The people you build a relationship is because you have a personal relationship with them. So engage is about the content that you put out is to get other people to respond. So it's got to be relevant to your customers. So it means you have to know your customers. This is why social selling is really good, because it allows you to listen to what your customers are interested in. You can join discussions and forums and offer additional value and advice because you're listening in on their conversations. So engaging is about getting people to respond to whatever you're putting out. And then educate. Educate is looking at what is your expertise. Remember I talked about my kind of strapline, key account sales strategies, but underneath all of that is I have the Scale Your Sales model, I have a book. You may not have those things, but the thing is, the advice, the experience, the information that you're giving out has to be within an area of your expertise. So it's deciding on what's the thing that's unique that you can do in the advice that you're giving, because if you're all things to all people, you're not an expert, you're not the go-to person. So it's actually making a decision about what you want to be known for. And then once you've got the terms for it, you need to master it. You need to be the number one in your niche, and you're going to educate people about your niche, your area of expertise. And I call this your font of knowledge. This is your font of knowledge. You decide on what that is. Of course, it needs to be relevant to your customers, your unique group of customers, but you need to decide on what that is. If you're constantly talking about all different things, what you get is more information, not insight. You get confusion. So make the decision about what you're educating on. What's your area of expertise that I call your font of knowledge? And that's the thing you're talking about all the time. You're demonstrating your expertise, your font of knowledge. So then these are the way that you can demonstrate it. Stories, stories, vlogging, blogging, all of the content, I would repurpose. Remember I said, listening on the conversations that you've had, write a blog about it, put in a post, do a quick video, whatever it may be, you can repurpose your content through all of these different formats. But I also think that content is about having little breadcrumbs, little quick bits of content. Because remember, millennials, you've got to entertain them a little bit. And, they'll only read things that are interesting to them. So things that are relevant to your customers, it doesn't need to be long form content, but it's got to lead somewhere. So whether you lead it to your website, we'll lead it to your YouTube channel. So little bite-sized bits of content, insights of knowledge that you're giving away. And then that leads them in like little breadcrumbs to your website, to your YouTube. But you've got to think about, it has to have a strategy behind it. So where are you leading them? Why are you leading them there? When they're there, what do you want them to do? Lots of people I meet don't really have a strategy behind what they're posting, and it's easy to do, but it's about planning all of that, having that sales system in place, which is what I help with, asking you the questions, pulling out what's relevant to your customers and putting a strategy in place. So your education has to be, around, the content that you give out and having a strategy behind why you're giving it out, what's its purpose, where it's leading. And then the sixth one is elevate. Now, I see this a lot, that we have great relationships with our customers, but then we don't capitalize on them. You've spent years building up that relationship, and then you don't really capitalize it. When a customer says, you did this, can you recommend someone else? Do they say that to you? Yes, they do. Or, you did this, can you also did that? What does that mean? It means they see you as a trusted advisor. Ka-ching, you've done the work. Now you need to capitalize on that relationship. And think about, what more can I offer them? What more can I do? What will help them grow their business? And, you have to think of customers as, that it's not what you do for everybody. Remember, this is around your key customers, your biggest revenue earners, the ones that absolutely love you, your advocates in your business. You need to create a strategy for that one customer. You have to have a strategy for the one valued customer in order to get more of that one valued customers, because they have friends similar to themselves. So elevate is elevating the trusted relationship that you spent time developing, but it's about thinking about what is the strategy. And that under this will be your referral strategy. It will be the strategy because you know that you can increase the revenue, but how do you increase it? What more do you need to do? Do you need to develop a breadth of relationships across their organization? There's no point knowing one person. You've got to know other key people in the company. So it's really about developing that strategy that really allows you to leverage the relationship that you've built up. So that's what Elevate does. And it's about thinking about, what more can I do? How can I serve the customer better? What are their needs, not now? What do I need to be talking to them about? Perhaps their millennial customers going forward. What opportunities are out there that I can introduce them to? We often know that, but we don't often sit down and think about how we can elevate the relationship. And that's where the real power is. So don't be left on the shelf. You've got to be speaking your customer's language and be thinking about not only your customer, but the customer's customer in order to remain relevant to them. Your influence is powerful because you're already doing that. You are the trusted experts, but it's about taking a little step back to think about, okay, these are my core customers, my key customers. These are the ones I want to develop a closer relationship. These are the ones I want to grow. This is how I'm going to do it. This is the social strategy that I'm going to use, because I know this means that I can make sure that I'm in front of them without being in front of them, okay? Because you're planning it out. And it's about having a sales strategy in place, a social sales strategy, planning it and just implementing it. That's all it is. So do not be left on the shelf. So if you want to take a picture to summarize, all of this, if you want to have a look at Make My Sales system, and that will kind of like help to put a lot of this together. But the first thing I talked about in Engage was build your personal business personality. And this is really about personal leading to professional. And then I talked about get found. If you get found, they know they're in the right place because they've probably been stalking you for a little while. It's important to get found. You've already built the rapport and the trust. And then make it relevant to them. Think about millennials. Think about how they like to engage with content and how to actually develop a personal relationship with you without you actually being in front of them. So educate with your differentiators. Remember I said about the strapline that I've got. What are you an expert in? And really packaging that up so it's really easy for your customers to understand that they're in the right place. So understanding what is unique and different about what you do and how you do it. Explain that to your customers so they can think, I really like, you know, this, I want to be there, I want to be part of this, you know, I really understand what they're doing. Unless you actually decide and define it, you can't promote it, and it comes out in a confused way. It needs to be really crystal clear to your customers. Why are you different? What will you do for them? And then educate through the content. Remember I said, just record what you say to your customers, and then you can repurpose a lot of that content. It's not difficult. And really promote your customers and the case studies that you do. It makes it more engaging to your customers, and it builds your credibility and your influence. And then elevate to build deeper relationships. This is really your referral strategy, your advocates of your business. You know, if you elevate the relationships, about thinking about what is the strategy to actually do that, because your business is all about relationships. There you go, sorry. So if you want to engage with me, this is my kind of social handles on LinkedIn or Twitter and Instagram and everything. Any questions?